Hello students, today we'll talk about using AI in our work and how we can properly cite AI's help in our reference lists in APA format. So I've really been hesitant to make this video. I was really hoping the school or the department would create an AI policy for ethical use as well as appropriate citing in APA format, but they haven't. And I've noticed more and more AI being used in the written assignments as we go further into the semester. So this is the policy. I've created this policy based on the policies of scientific research journals and how they are handling the citing and use of AI in the work, because AI can be a useful tool for us in our scientific research. So something like, let's say I don't understand a section of a research paper. Asking the AI to describe that to me like I was in high school or a middle school student or something like that could be a good way to get another perspective on it. You can argue with an AI, give it a point, say, hey, what are some counterpoints? Maybe that's something you would want to add to your paper. So some of those ideas. That being said, what you should do with this tool is find extra sources, ask it, hey, can you tell me some of the most recent research on X topic in the last 5 years? And then from that, you can even ask it to give you some APA citations. Sometimes it has problems with that. Sometimes it makes up fake citations, but that can get you a start or a connection to other topics. So then you can go and use the library's resources to find peer-reviewed papers. An inappropriate and unethical use of AI would be to ask it to summarize a part of an article and then you copy and paste that into your paper or your assignment. That's an example of academic dishonesty, and the same as if you copied and pasted a piece of someone else's paper or a research paper without citing it correctly. So again, that would be plagiarism and academic dishonesty. So let's talk a little bit about how we will use AI in an ethical way, because it can be a useful tool. Similar to how we use, say, calculators or statistics programs to help us do that work quicker, that is something AI can do. But again, it would be completely unethical and academically dishonest to take the printout from an AI, change a couple things so it doesn't look like it's AI anymore, and then paste it into your paper without proper citation. So one place that you can go is to the Salt Lake Community College Library's page on AI. It is right here. They have a bunch of useful resources for strengths and weaknesses of the AI, some suggestions for ethical use of it, and also some recommendations to do things like lateral reading. When the AI gives you a summary of some topic that might be new to you, some connecting topic or something like that, go to other sources, whether it be Wikipedia, whether it be peer-reviewed research papers, to see, hey, is it actually giving me good information? Because it does sometimes give you false information. Citations, it has a really hard time with. Sometimes it will just make up citations entirely. Sometimes it will give you most of the correct citation, but they can give you the incorrect DOI for a completely different paper. So not sure why it does that, but those are things to be aware of. It does have its strengths and weaknesses. The two AIs that I'm most familiar with at the moment are Bard and ChatGPT. So those are up in the top left of my screen over here. So most of my experience is with those. The document that I've shared with your class should be on Canvas, maybe I emailed it to you, is a pretty detailed instruction for citing AI tools in APA format. A lot of this first paragraph are things that I have already said, but essentially the main point is that currently scientific journals are referencing AI as if it is a personal reference. So if I was at a research conference, I was talking to another professional, and I said, hey, can you describe this to me, this concept that is new to me? And then if I took that direct quote from what they said, put it in my paper, I would cite it as a personal reference. So we're citing AI in that same way. In addition to that, even if you're not taking the text that the AI gives you and pasting it into your assignment, your paper, whatever it is, we still need to disclose and be transparent about how we used AI in any portion of our workflow for our assignments. So let's go through a couple examples. The first is this is a good example of how you would write within a paper how you used AI and what it gave to you. So when prompted with, is the left brain right brain divide real or a metaphor, the ChatGPT generated text indicated that although the two brain hemispheres are somewhat specialized, so this is a little paraphrase of what ChatGPT gave to them, but this is a direct quote from what ChatGPT gave to them. The notion that people can be characterized as left-brained or right-brained is considered to be an oversimplification and a popular myth. So that is a direct quote from the AI. That is what the AI spit out. You could use that in your paper and cite it in this way. The authors of ChatGPT is OpenAI. The year you got that, 2023, whatever year it was that you got that. So this is a really good example because it tells you, the reader, the method that you used. You asked the AI this question, this is what it told you. So you are disclosing, you are being transparent about how you used it. This might be part of your paper, right? You might also use a definition or a piece of a book, a piece of a reputable website, and then you would cite that in the parentheses citations that we've talked about. So this would be for any discussion board, any research paper, any short writing assignment to let someone know that you've used AI in a direct quote format. So how you would then reference that in the reference list looks like this. So again, the author, the year, make sure you know which version it was that you were using, and then the link to that. So this is basically how you would reference a personal reference as well. So that's what your reference list would look like with ChatGPT specifically. So in addition to doing that, you might use AI to help you understand things, understand articles, sections of articles, explain something in a different way to help you get a different perspective, find additional sources. So that's a good use of AI. So maybe you have a good paper, you can ask AI to summarize that paper for you to get another understanding of it, and then even find you a few more papers or similar topics, other things that that author has written. So some AIs will do that better than others. So with that though, again, the summary that it's provided, the description of these things, you would not copy and paste that into your paper without any kind of citation. If you are directly copying and pasting that text, you need to have this kind of in-text citation showing that that was actually written by this AI. Now let's say you got these examples, you got a better understanding of the topic, you asked the AI for a bunch of different topics, things like that. You still do need to disclose that in your research paper. So journal articles right now are having authors do that to let the editor know and the readers know what did they ask for from the AI, and as well as the prompts that they asked the AI, the methods that they used the AI for, as well as asking for the entire printout of the text that the AI gives. So where we will put this in our papers is the appendix. Most of your papers in the past probably didn't have an appendix. An appendix is always after the reference list in APA format. So you've got your reference page or pages and then a new page of appendix. Oftentimes in journals, the appendix is where we put like graphs. Sometimes we even put like our stats printouts, the programs we ran the stats with. Sometimes we put survey questions or things like that. That doesn't fit in the actual written text. In your reading a journal article, depending on the journal, they might like insert that into specific places in the actual text. But when you're actually publishing the article, you always put that in an appendix. So the three major sections that we need for using AI are the methods section, the AI prompts used, and the AI text output. So I'll give you an example of this. So this would be APA format for appendix, that's a first level heading. Methods would be your second level heading. This methods section is where you describe kind of narratively, how did you use this AI? What did you ask it for? What emphasis does your paper have from using AI? This kind of thing. So an example of something I did recently, I used ChatGPT 3.5 to summarize research on Waldorf education, as well as giving me research papers about socio-emotional learning used in Waldorf education. So I asked it to give me a summary of what Waldorf education is. After it did that, I asked it, hey, can you give me some papers on socio-emotional learning? After finding these articles using Google Scholar, so I'm indicating that I use that as a piece of my workflow. I also went to Google Scholar, I read those articles, and asked ChatGPT for a few examples of the concepts in the articles. So maybe there were some things in those articles I didn't understand, so I asked ChatGPT to describe those to me, and I only used one quote directly from ChatGPT in my paper. So I'm disclosing, I'm letting the reader know, the teacher, the professor grading the work know, or the journal editor know, how did I use this AI within my workflow process. This is an actual example from a publication that was published in a scientific journal. So they say I used ChatGPT 3.5 and 4 to generate short papers. So they said I'm generating short papers on these topics. I ended up with this many papers. I found citations with it and did X, Y, and Z. So they're spelling out the methods that they used the AI for, exactly telling the reader, the grader, the professor, the journal editor, how did they use this tool. And that's really important so that you can disclose. So I, as a professor or the journal editor, can judge the writing in front of them and say, is this original work or is this just the printout from an AI? So that is the methods section. So that's the first important part if you're going to be using AI, is let me know how did you use it in the methods. The next section is the AI prompts. So this is pretty self-explanatory. The AI prompts used section is another second level heading here. And you literally list all of the prompts that you asked the AI for that project. If it's a discussion board, probably very few. If it's a really long research paper, maybe you use it quite a few times. You paste every single prompt that you used with the AI for that project here. So here are my three in my example I just described, and we'll come back to this one in a second. So I'm always pretty nice to AI. Who knows, maybe someday it'll take over the world. And so I always say like please and thank you. So could you please summarize the research on in psychology and education, on Waldorf education? So that was a topic that I touched on many years ago in a class. It's been a long time since I've read up on it, so I wanted a more up-to-date summary, and then I also wanted some APA citations of research papers so I could read the newer research, so I could kind of get myself up to date. And then this one was really for an example for this class. Could you please give me an example of character strengths and positive psychology research? So it is related to the Waldorf education, but also it's an example. It's something I know pretty well to judge the kind of output that the AI is giving. So that is the AI prompt section. So you've got your methods section. How did you use this AI? What are the prompts that you used? And then the next big section is the AI text output section. So here you put literally all of the text the AI generated for your project. So again, if you ask it just one thing, this might be a very short section. If you relied on AI quite heavily and asked it to describe a lot of things, summarize a bunch of papers, this section could be incredibly long. But that's okay. It's a digital file. It's pretty short. You're not going to have to print this out. But this gives your prompt. So could you please give me an example of character strengths in positive psychology research? And then this is what the AI gave me. So certainly positive psych research refers to blah, 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 blah. It's got all of this information. That was the printout text that the AI gave me. So if this was an actual paper, I would have given the printout for these prompts as well. So that is what the AI text output section is for. You include every single piece of text that the AI gave you for whatever project you're working on. So I also have an example from a published research paper. So in this paper, they had quite a few. They used ChatGPT 3 quite heavily. This is one example. So this is something they asked. Hey, can you act as an academic researcher? Write a paper of about 2,000 words. And so then they've given what the AI has printed out. I shortened it for length, but this was a very long appendix. But that is what journals are asking for now. They want us to disclose how the methods we used for AI, the prompts we asked it for, as well as the actual text that the AI gave. It allows us to assess. Me as a grader, a professor in these classes, I can look at these printouts of the text, I can look at your work and say, okay, I can see the methods that they used went into helping them understanding X, Y, Z, and then that this written work that they've turned in for their assignment is their work. So that it was a source, versus I could also see that, oh, they have taken some of that text output and this whole paragraph is not properly cited. It is just the AI text, and that they're trying to pass that off as their own work. So we will treat AI in our class just like we would a personal reference. So with that, if you do not cite it correctly the first time, you might lose a couple points, and I will indicate, say, how to cite it. say with a first draft of a paper, but if that is still the case on your final draft of your paper, you will lose quite a lot more points. So we need to be transparent about how we're using these tools. A big part of these classes is to learn to write, learn to use the resources that are available to you, whether it's a research database, whether it's AI to help you understand topics and put together your ideas in a good written way, or a poster presentation, a discussion board, whatever project that you're doing. So this is how we're going to be transparent. So if you are using AI quotes in your paper itself or a discussion board, whatever it is, you have to have them in quotation marks. You have to have that parenthetical APA citation. It also needs to be in your reference list. If you use it at all in your workflow in this way or any other way, it always needs to also be in an appendix. So that, again, the key pieces are those methods sections, the AI prompt section, and the AI text output section. So this will help journal editors to make sure that the work that they are publishing has come from the actual authors. It'll help me to know if the work that you're submitting has come from an AI, or if you use it as a tool in an ethical manner. All right, so we do have AI detection tools. They are getting better. They're not quite as good as plagiarism detectors, but they are getting better. And keeping up to date, using it myself, I do have a good sense of hopefully how AI writes as well. So do please use these methods to be transparent, to let people know that you have used this as part of your tool in helping to understand and put together your ideas. The main thing is to disclose this in an appropriate way.